In this edition of Safari Changemakers on Location, I'm here today at Matetsi Safari Lodge in Victoria Falls on the edge of the Zambezi River in Zimbabwe. And I'm going to be speaking with Sara Gardiner, the founder of Matetsi, to hear more about the conservation and community work that they do here.
This is Safari Changemakers. Conversations with Africa's most innovative visionaries, the guardians, pioneers, and trailblazers, offering solutions to the most pressing challenges facing the continent. Over-tourism, human-wildlife conflict, the climate crisis, and environmental degradation. Conversations that reveal bold strategies for sustainable tourism leading to economic opportunities for indigenous communities while protecting local ecosystems and wildlife. Here's your host, founder of Artisans of Safari, recognized by Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast Traveler magazines as one of the top travel specialists for Africa, Karin Jones.
Hi, Sara. How are you today?
I'm really good, Karin. How are you?
It's so wonderful to be back here at Matetsi.
It's amazing to have you back.
So, Sara, you are part of the Gardiner family who are the owners of this amazing place. Can you tell us a little bit about Matetsi and how that came to be for you?
Yeah, so long story short, Matetsi Victoria Falls is the realization of our dream to showcase everything beautiful about our home country, Zimbabwe. So as a family, I have a twin brother and we were born in Zimbabwe. This is our home country. And when we were young, we got to go on safari in Mana Pools, which is another area on the banks of the Zambezi. And when we were a little older, we went on boat cruises, houseboats on Kariba, which was incredible. And we had those experiences. We also went on safari in the Okavango Delta in Botswana. We went to Madikwe in South Africa. And as time went on, we thought, wouldn't it be amazing to have a safari offering in Zimbabwe and be able to showcase this beautiful home country? So for many years, we looked for the right location, the right concession, and in 2014, Matetsi Private Game Reserve became available. So yeah, it's been over a decade of love for the land. Actually, we opened our doors to guests in 2016. So this marks 10 years of welcoming guests, which is super exciting.
For those people that don't know, what is right behind us?
So Karin and I are here on the banks of the Zambezi. So this is one of the mighty rivers in Africa. It's a really, I would say, breathtaking river. And we're just 30 kilometers, so maybe about 20 miles upstream from Victoria Falls itself. So from a location perspective, it's an incredible location. A 136,000 acre private game reserve, Matetsi Private Game Reserve, along 9 miles of Zambezi river frontage, and then we're just about 40 minutes away from Victoria Falls, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world.
And on all of that acreage, how many people maximum would be staying here, could be staying here?
So we just have the one lodge, Matetsi Victoria Falls, and a maximum of 36 adults within the whole property.
That's a lot of space.
It's a lot of space, yeah. So we're able to offer a very exclusive safari experience. When guests are out on drive, they might feel like they're the only people in this vast wilderness.
And what kind of wildlife might they see here?
So this is big elephant country. Actually, we had our first aerial survey done this year in the area, so it showed very high elephant densities, which we knew qualitatively, but now we know quantitatively. And there was another research done within the larger Kaza area, which showed this is possibly the highest density of elephant in the Kaza area, which means it might be the highest density of elephant in the world.
Here,
yeah.
At
Matetsi, yeah, which is incredible. Wow. So big elephant country. Yeah. And then as well as elephant, there's a great population of giraffe, zebra, your plains game. You mentioned you went on a boat cruise earlier, and on the drive there you got to see kudus and then impalas with little babies. Yeah. Because we're on the river, we can also see things like the crocodiles and the hippos.
Which we saw.
Yes. And then going back to the land, we think about big herds of buffalo, lion, from a predator's perspective, lion, leopard, And because we're on a private concession, we can offer our guests night drives. So there's also the opportunity to see those nocturnal species. So for example, your civets and serval and porcupine and bat-eared fox. I mean, sometimes it's species that guests have never even heard of.
Yeah.
We have a family of aardwolves that live on the Flay in the south, which is also super cool. Yeah, so a whole range of different species. And I forgot to, like the warthogs and around the
we saw
lodge here.
that.
Yeah, you've seen some warthogs already. So
Yeah.
around the lodge, it's not fenced, so wildlife do roam freely, and the warthogs come by, and the beautiful bushbucks as well. And we see, the troops of baboons and the monkeys as well. Yeah, it's full of life. And the birds, obviously, which I think we can hopefully hear.
Incredible birds, yeah.
Yeah.
So safari, in my mind, really can be a force for good. Tourism here. How do you see that?
Very, very much. And I've been able to see both ends of the spectrum, actually. So when we as a family first came on property to Matetsi Private Game Reserve, there was no positive human presence here. And so unfortunately the area had been decimated by poaching and illegal hunting. So there was a lot of negative human presence, a lot of negative activity. And from the moment we came on property, we worked towards creating a safe haven in this space, to create a safe haven for the wildlife. And what we've seen with that, with our conservation efforts and having tourism and safari guests coming through, we now have this very positive human presence here. When our guests come to stay with us, much of what they pay towards their stay will go towards conservation. So now we have this 136,000 acre concession that is very well protected with a very strong anti-poaching unit. And what we've seen it's more than a decade now, is this return of wildlife. So when I first came here, we saw one lonely skittish kudu, and you've only had a chance to go out once so far and seen quite a number of them. Never mind the impalas. We didn't see a single impala, and now the herds of impala are incredible. We estimate that we have over 800 impala just in the north of the concession. So it is, with having this positive human presence, with having this safari offering here, it has an incredible force for good from a conservation perspective. And also, and I think it's really important that this is highlighted, the job creation through what we do. So in our anti-poaching unit, we have 55 anti-poaching scouts. Those are all individuals who, actually most of them, didn't have any formal employment beforehand. I remember meeting some of our first intake of anti-poaching scouts. One guy had been on the side of the road selling tomatoes. That's how he was making trying to make ends meet. And then altogether on property, we have a team of over 200. So it's a sizable team complement. Yeah.
For 36 guests.
For 36 guests.
So low density tourism.
Yes.
And that kind of low density, however, leaves a smaller impact here.
Yes, yeah.
Yet makes a bigger impact on the area.
Yeah. Trying to keep our footprint as low as possible and trying to keep our positive impact as high as possible. We're very grateful to be able to have set up an offering that has this, it's very high touch from a guest perspective. We're really working towards creating an exceptional experience, and with that being able to develop our team as well.
I think sometimes people think luxury is only things like, copper tubs and chandeliers and private butlers, but do you see it differently?
For me personally, I feel like luxury in this day and age, many of us humans live such busy lives. We're busy doing, we almost turn into human doings, and we forget about our human being. And I think luxury is about, and this is what we try to create for our guests, is this freedom of time and space. And you can really feel that while we're here on the banks of the river.
Yeah.
And giving, almost creating this space, creating this safe haven. It's not just a safe haven for wildlife, but also for our guests, a space that they can step into and connect with place, and also connect with people, connect with our team, reconnect with the people they're traveling with, and also reconnect with themselves. So yes, it's wonderful to have all the sort of trims and frills, but really the essence is having this space and this freedom.
Yeah. So in addition to the anti-poaching, and are there any other conservation or community projects that you're involved with here?
We are actually just in the process now of re-establishing our canine unit, which is very exciting. So when we started our canine unit, we had these amazing rescue dogs, and they did so well, but they were already quite old by the time they joined us. So now they are all retired and are living their best lives. So our anti-poaching unit manager has just identified dogs that will come into the unit. So that's going to be a big focus for us this year.
What kind of dogs?
This time it will be a Malinois. Malinois breed. So yeah, I love the idea of rescue dogs, but what we found is that out of it's sort of like 4 out of 5 would be good at what they needed to do. So we thought, okay, we're going to go for a smaller team with the Malinois now. Yeah, so that's exciting. So that's a big focus for us. And then we are still in the process of an ostrich reintroduction program, which is really cool, but also probably one of the most challenging projects that we've done. So ostrich should thrive in this area. So up in the northern section here, it's riverine forest. As you go down into the south, it's big open grassland areas. And our team have seen a couple of male ostriches down there over the years, but no females and not really big numbers. So a few years ago, we thought, wouldn't it be amazing to reintroduce ostrich? So we got little ostrich chicks and have tried to rear them. They are very tricky to try and rear. And also more recently, for example, we had a number go out so they live within a wildlife boma most of the time, but they go out for walks during the day. So they went out for a walk and a swim in the river, and they came back with one less ostrich, probably a crocodile.
Yeah.
And then, it's just, they are in nature, and they're not the smartest creatures anyway. But yeah, we're almost at the point of releasing the ostriches now, so they pretty much just wander free. We're going to see how they go. As we say, they don't seem to have a great sense of self-preservation, so we'll see. Keep fingers crossed for the ostriches. Another big matter for us is it's incredible that we possibly have the largest elephant density in the world right here. And
amazing.
Then the impact on vegetation from the elephants. So this challenge is seen across Africa. When you get high elephant populations, they do have an impact on the trees. And so elephants will sometimes strip off the bark of trees, as you would know, obviously.
And we saw that today with a big giant baobab.
Yeah. So now, and if they strip off all the bark, it's called ring barking, and the tree can't bring the nutrients up, and so it can't feed itself, and unfortunately the tree will die. And we've seen this for a number of big beautiful trees out in the bush. We tried a lot of different methods for tree protection. Long story short, the only one that seems to work in this area is the tree wrapping. So you possibly saw that on the baobab.
We did.
It's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but it is protecting that tree. So by wrapping the trees with that diamond mesh, it ensures that the ellies don't take everything from the tree. So that's an ongoing project. Just to give you an example, in the last 2 months of last year, the team wrapped 83 trees. If you do go for a drive, it won't look like that many trees are wrapped, and that's because there are so many trees over such a vast area. So that for us is an ongoing project as well.
And our guide told us about the hornbills that need certain trees.
Yes.
For nesting.
Yeah, exactly. So they like to nest in the sort of cavities of trees, and there's only certain trees where that will work. So preserving, it's incredible to have this essentially rewilding of the area, this amazing return of wildlife. Even over a decade ago, there weren't many elephants here because there was such a negative presence. There wasn't great access to water. So now the wildlife is back, and ensuring that the vegetation isn't too negatively impacted over the space. And then by preserving trees, then you're also preserving the habitat for the bird life as well.
Tell me a little bit about the community work that you do.
Yeah, so a huge part of our focus from a community perspective is creating opportunities for Zimbabweans. So that's in the work we do on property. So for example, we have as you've seen, we have our guides assisted by trackers, which is not typical in this part of the world. And for us, a huge part of that is all of our trackers are junior guides, and so they are actively training up to be the next generation of guides in Zimbabwe. So this is really important. Also, for example, in our kitchen, we often get guests saying, complimenting our food and saying, oh, you've got an incredible chef. I'm like, well, actually, we have a kitchen team of over 30 people, which is, again, it's very sizable. And this is because we have the offering that we do. We've elevated our food to where we've elevated it. And in doing that, we can then create more opportunities in the kitchen. And the kitchen is a great example of individuals coming in as porters, dishwashers, and learning and upskilling. And so we have actually a young gentleman, Prosper, who joined us as a kitchen porter. He was not very happy about this. One of his relatives had gotten him the job. And I remember meeting him, and he was this like quite unhappy youngster. And I was like, okay. But a few years later, I saw him behind a stove. And I was like, oh, Prosper, what are you up to? He's like, I'm learning to cook. And his eyes lit up and he was so excited, and he's now a class 1 chef in Zimbabwe, which is amazing.
Wow.
So that's the sort of thing that's happening on property here. Oh, actually, for our anti-poaching team, as I mentioned, a lot of them have come in, they haven't had formal employment. They are welcome to cross-train in any department, and sometimes they'll go through and become into the guiding team. So I actually think Chris, who's tracking with you, started as an anti-poaching unit scout. So there's that side from a team perspective. And then outside of the property, we work within an area called the Monde area, Monde community. So as you're going towards the airport on the eastern side, that is all rural area and lands there. And what we've done is identify 3 different schools. And instead of going in to say, we're going to buy you books or, we're going to paint your walls, we've gone in and said, we're not sure what you need, but we've got these, what we call headmaster or headmistress fund. We're going to beginning of every term, we're going to bring this fund to you. You can decide what your needs are for your school. And then you come back to us at the end of the term and just let us know what you've done. And so with that, we've seen different schools have different needs. And in these, for example, so one school, it's not very glamorous, but one school, their doors were falling off and falling apart. And so they went and they got these very smart metal doors, and they're very proud of them. They've got like matching designs and it's beautiful. Another one, the floor was falling apart. There were potholes in the floor. And so they decided to redo their floor. And so now the kids can go in and the floor is smart and no one's falling over. And they're not, it's not glamorous necessarily. We wish that we would be at the stage that they're saying, well, we're putting in an IT facility, but these schools are so under-resourced. And in the rural areas, there's no school fees, but there is meant to be a contribution from parents towards maintenance. Most parents can't pay this. So the schools don't have any funds to put towards new doors, floors. Another school, they did have a borehole, which is fantastic, but they were paying for electricity and they were trying to finish a solar project, but they'd run out of funds, and so it was halfway there, but they couldn't justify the spend on paying for electricity. So with the funds, they completed their solar project so they could pump from the well. And with that, they could also then restart their garden that they have there. Now the kids go in and they have their different beds, and grade 1 is growing carrots and grade 2 is growing spinach. And so it's small but incredibly impactful, beautiful things. Another school had no access to water, so they were bringing water essentially in a donkey cart or wheelbarrow. And so we said to them, okay, well, instead of doing a headmaster's termly fund, we'll do an annual amount to put towards a water project, which we hoped we could do a borehole. But there is no water on their site. So now, again, we're like, okay, well, actually, the borehole company said there's a small chance. So we said to the school, we either have the funds for the borehole, or we could do a piping project. And we left it with them. They must, then make the decision. And they chose to do a piping project from the nearest borehole. The community got together, they dug the trenches, we provided the solar panels and the piping and everything. And now the school has clean running water, which, for me, this is it's what makes my eyes sparkle.
And this is from tourism funds.
Yes, this is this is so our guests come through, they pay for their stay, they also make a conservation contribution, and from this we're then able to do our conservation work and our community work as well.
It's so good to know that the money we're paying for that is going to things like that.
Yeah, and bringing joy. And on the Bringing Joy, once a year we do it's just a bit of fun, like a festive party at the school where we did the water project. So we basically put on a festive party for the kids, because not all families are able to do something over the festive period. So the kids come through, and this year we had jumping castles, and we had our Santa come through, and the kids could get photos with Santa, and just a little bit of fun, just a little bit of joy.
How fun.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question. Have you seen any negative impact from the U.S. aid going away?
There is across Zimbabwe in general. USAID was very active across Zimbabwe. I've heard, basically they're shutting down, they're having to sell vehicles. There's a lot of projects that have been significantly affected. In the Victoria Falls area, from what I know, a lot of projects are as a result of the tourism here. So in this bubble, we're relatively unaffected, which is, I think, we're very fortunate in that.
So you're more self-sufficient.
We're more self-sufficient, but there are areas that, they won't be getting food this year from USAID, and that's really tricky.
Wow.
More Safari Changemakers after this.
Safari Changemakers is brought to you by Artisans of Safari. Beyond the map lies adventure. With nearly 40 years guiding travelers into Africa's hidden sanctuaries, we craft journeys as individual as your fingerprint. Expertly designed, deeply personal. Connect with Karin at artisansofsafari.com for your collaborative consultation. Your safari, your story. Artisans of Safari.
Here at Matetsi, with all this incredible wildlife that you've brought in and the conservation efforts, is there a way to get out of the vehicle, or I know we got to go in a boat, which is so unique.
So we're very fortunate to offer this combination experience. So you can go for your game drive. We also have our cruises on the river, and then we do offer walking safaris as well. So for some guests, they're very keen to have that experience and to step out in nature. So Zimbabwean professional walking guides are considered some of the most highly qualified in the world, and some of the best guides. And so we have our walking guides here, and if guests are keen, we can organize a walking safari. And it's a beautiful way to be in nature and really slow down and listen to the birds and have a look at the trees. And perhaps there will be a herd of elephants, and there'll be an opportunity to get a little bit closer to them on foot, and that's truly a very special experience.
Do the guides carry a rifle when they do that?
Yes, so that's a regulation, so from a safety perspective. And in everything that we do, whether it's a game drive, whether it's a boat cruise, whether it's a walking safari, the safety of our guests is our top priority. So we've got, for example, Paul, our head guide, is a walking guide. He's very amiable and easygoing, and when you get into walking guide mode, step out of the vehicle, he's like, so you're going to be with a very different Paul right now. And he's very like, okay. And the safety briefing on that is very clear, because no one wants to be in a position where they're uncomfortable or unsafe. So it's about creating that safety and that feeling of comfort in the bush. So enjoying being in nature while also remaining safe.
The last question I'm going to ask you, kind of a two-part question. What keeps you up at night? So what worries you here? And then what do you see for the future?
What keeps me up at night is just how much we as human beings need to be doing on a global scale to protect this world that we live in. So the big picture, conservation, sustainability, regenerative picture, that keeps me up at night. And then sometimes I find myself thinking, we're just doing our little bit. But I've gone through that and said, okay, well, this is what we can do. If we're doing what we can do, and hopefully have a ripple effect, and hopefully inspire others to do the same or something different in the spaces they're in. But that big concept of we're human beings. At the end, we're an animal that needs to exist on this planet. We need to have all these different resources, and how are we going to have that, with populations booming and etc. So that's that's a lot of what keeps me up at night.
A lot to shoulder.
Yeah. And then your second question was the future.
Yeah, what do you see both for the future here? I mean, what are you hoping for?
For us, and I see our journey as a two-part journey. So there's the hospitality journey and the conservation journey. And from a hospitality perspective, for us it's about refining, elevating, enhancing, understanding the guest experience and where we're taking that. That's an ever-evolving journey, which is always fun and exciting and creative. And then from a conservation perspective, it's understanding that we are the custodians of this land and reflecting on what we've achieved over the last decade and the positive impact that we've had here, and looking at what next. And so for us, a huge step in our conservation journey would be the reintroduction of rhino onto this concession.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big step.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate. There are good populations of rhino in Zimbabwe, and we've spoken to the powers that be about the possibility of reintroducing rhino. So it is a possibility, and translocating them we feel would be doable. So the big thing for us is, how do we ensure that we've got sustainable funding for a long period, because it's a lot of conservation funds that need to go into a project like that. We are very fortunate that our anti-poaching unit manager has experience with rhino anti-poaching. He's very confident that this is something that he could take on. So essentially at the moment we're keeping our eyes and ears out for partners that would be keen to join us in that initiative. So that's sort of our conservation journey here. And long term, I think I'm feeling, and it goes back to that smaller footprint, I feel like if the world can shift more to less consumption and downscaling, and I think taking trips is incredible. It's an incredible experience for us as individuals, and taking fewer but more meaningful trips throughout the year, and really being conscious about where we're going and what we're doing and who we're supporting, and realizing the spaces that we step into, stepping into spaces that share our values. And I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes sense. Something I forgot to ask you, which was being an owner-operated lodge. What do you think that makes a big difference as opposed to lodges that are operated more by a company from overseas? What's the difference really, for people, and why does that make a difference?
I think for me, I know what we pour into our space here, and there's real, genuine love, passion, dedication that's being poured in, and I think that ripples through our team and it comes through in our guest experience. And not to say that can't be in a sort of different operated property. At the end of the day, it's about the team on the ground, and who they are, how they're taken care of, how they show up, and the experience that they create for guests. So I can say with confidence, I know that our guests feel the love and care of our team, because that's something that's inbuilt in what we do and how we show up. And I think that's one of the things that makes this part of the world very special.
But you're here.
Yes, yeah.
Here. So you actually see every day what's happening here, which seems to me very different than somebody getting a report back in Dubai or London about the lodge sitting here.
Yeah. Hospitality for me is not a numbers business. It's the real hospitality is quite intangible. And so being able to step into a space when something doesn't quite feel right, it's possible to make that tweak, and make that change, and give it that. We talk about, you've heard me say this, we talk about Matetsi Magic here, and I think it's those magic moments that can't be translated on reports and can't be managed through emails. It's human beings coming together to create beautiful experiences for each other.
This place is very special.
You're gonna make me emotional now. Just look to the river.
Well, that's our show for today. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Till next time, I'm Karin Jones.